talk to Susan Sullivan, a law and politics professor at Temple University in Philadelphia. Susan, thanks for being with us. This is a fascinating case. We know that her father filed this lawsuit against Pompeo, who maintains that she's not a U.S. citizen. Pompeo's government legal team, they insist that in this new filing, in fact, that she is not. What is this case hinging on?
Well, it's hinging on a number of things. I think, obviously, the constitutional question here is she entitled to any rights as a U.S. citizen? And right now, the government have been pinning their hopes and saying, she's not a citizen, she has no right to any of these rights. And if the court were to find that was the case, then it would essentially be over. I think now that the federal court yesterday said we're not going to fast track this, we're going to give the government time to come back with their position, I think you'll hear more about whether or not, as a citizen, she has lost citizenship. So I think they may well abandon this notion that she is not a U.S. citizen and start arguing, well, even if she is a U.S. citizen, she has lost that citizenship. She's forfeited her citizenship, or we have the power to revoke it. I think that's what we're going to see coming back in 60 days from the government.
I want to read out what Pompeo's lawyers wrote in this filing, which is the government informed Muthana more than 3 years ago that she is not a citizen and canceled her erroneously issued passport. Muthana, who was at the time a member of ISIS, failed to act timely in response to that notification and remained in a war zone through hostilities for a period of years. So this is, of course, this was in relation to them expediting her case. But there was a controversy over whether she had a passport. She, I believe, had tweeted out a picture where she had burned her passport. But what does this statement tell us right here?
Well, it tells me that the government is somewhat confused. There is a timeline here. She certainly did have a passport. It's, as you say, the passport, she posted a picture of her passport saying bonfire tonight. So she certainly was issued a passport. And I think the fact that Pompeo is saying we did this erroneously is very telling, because if they made a mistake, it's not necessarily going to be conclusive. If they've made a mistake at that point, then they may have to rectify or live with the consequences of that mistake. But what they're essentially arguing there is this timeline. Did she have a passport? Did she have it in time? Was her citizenship sufficiently well established? So there are some technical issues here and a timeline. But again, all of that is going to, is she a U.S. citizen? Is she a U.S. citizen? And I think once the court goes through that timeline, it looks as though the government is going to lose that argument that the court will find she is a citizen. So their next argument is going to have to be, okay, well, even if she is a citizen, look at all these things that she's done. Look at all these reasons why we should be able to revoke her citizenship. And that's a much murkier proposition.
These cases, Susan, sorry to just jump in, these cases have been difficult to prosecute in some European countries because it's difficult to look at the evidence of the crimes that they have committed in another country. Could that be a reason why the U.S. does not want to bring her back?
Oh, I think undoubtedly popular opinion here is that you don't want people back. You don't want people who have committed atrocities, who have said they want to burn their passport, who have encouraged other people to join a terrorist organization. Though that's, you know, the natural visceral reaction to that is that those are not people, those are not beliefs that we want to have back in the United States. The difference between most European countries and the United States is that those countries are signatories to the stateless persons treaties. There are a couple of them. And as Theresa May pointed out just a few days ago, those countries cannot deny citizenship or revoke citizenship if somebody will be stateless as a result of that. The United States doesn't have that. So if the United States is successful in revoking her citizenship, she may well end up as a stateless person. And those crimes that you mentioned come into play when you're trying to revoke somebody's citizenship, when you're trying to show that their actions were so egregious, that their words were so threatening, that they rise to the level of either treason or whatever word you want to, whatever label you want to put on it, that justifies revoking somebody's citizenship.
Well,
And
we're certainly going to
evidence
know a
is
lot more as this trial moves on. Susan Sullivan, would love to have you back another time as this develops. Thanks for being with us.